pictures at the end and get feedback and then share those at the next staff meeting. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea. So I'm going to move on and show you what I have put down. So how can we turn the theory of asking into practice? One would be patient interviews. Take your CAP scores. Pick 2 patients. Ask them, what do you see in these scores? Because we look at our CAP scores and we think, we interpret them, well, what do the patients think about them? Build in, you're probably doing your budgets for 2019 right now. Build in 20 $50 gift cards, $10 $50 gift cards. Ask patients to sit in on interviews and then give them a gift card at the end. You'd be amazed at what people will do for a $25 gift card. Patient interviews, focus groups, hold a lunch once a quarter. And there are so many tools out on the internet where you can get canned questions if you don't know what to ask when you have a table of patients sitting around and you don't want dead time. There are so many resources to sort of craft agendas for these types of things. And then we've already talked about the PFACs. What about putting evaluation forms right in the exam room? So one thing that I use with my staff at work is what's bothering me today? And I put that, or I asked the staff, I manage a call center with 42 people, and I asked them to keep it at their desk. And when something isn't working in our IT systems or in our processes or just in their environment in the day, sometimes you forget about it. Or you harbor it, you push it down inside, and then over time you become angry at the company. So I give them these forms, what's bothering me today, and then they write those down, when something comes up, and then they turn them into me at the end of the week. And it's really informative. You could do the same thing in your exam rooms. Now you don't have to make it so negative, like what's bothering me today, or any feedback you have for us. Because sometimes if I'm sitting in an exam room, I might have an idea, but I don't have anywhere to go with it. So if I could just write it down while I'm in there, you could take it or leave it. Take it to a staff meeting, talk about it. So evaluation forms. I know the CAP surveys that I filled out, they're so generic, and you don't know who's actually getting the feedback anyway. My next theory is whatever you do, I don't care what you do. I don't care if it's a PFAC, I don't care if it's interviews, I don't care if it's a quarterly focus group. Whatever you do, make it systematic or you won't do it. So how do you put systematic into practice? Set a goal, interview 2 patients a month. These are just ideas. Quarterly patient advisory lunches. Maybe Wednesdays are the day that you set those evaluation forms in the exam room. So you don't have to do it every day. Make it systematic. Okay, my next theory is that you need to embed patients in your initiatives. I just sat through a whole series of opioid initiative talks in Oklahoma, and this health system, huge health system in Oklahoma, I'm not going to name them, they've undertaken all of these opioid initiatives, and they're beautifully laid out project plans and documents. Patients were not even involved in the design of that program. And that is so often what happens in healthcare. We design a quality improvement project, we design a construction project, we remodel, we repaint, we extend our hours, we open up a nurse hotline, all without asking the patients, are you going to use this? Do you like this? Does this scare you? Will this help you? I'm thinking of a clinic I know that they remodeled their waiting room, and they put this frosted glass. You know how showers have that frosted glass that you can't see through? They put this frosted glass between the patients and the receptionists because they thought it would improve the notion of privacy, like that when a patient is up there or behind the desk, they can't see, other patients or hear conversations. So they built this elaborate remodel project with the frosted glass, and the patients hated it. They said, we feel like there's a barrier between us and the clinic, like we're the outsiders, and they hate it. So they tore it down. And all of that could have been avoided if they would have gotten some patient input in the first place. I know of another clinic that did a postcard campaign with appointment reminders, and they just had a few patients look at the postcard design before it went out. And the patient said, well, this font's too small, we can't even read it. And if we saw this, we wouldn't know who it was from, so we'd probably toss it away with our junk mail. They completely redesigned the postcard to something that made sense to them. So I just don't see how, we can do all these initiatives in healthcare, like we're going to do this to the patients, we're going to provide this for the patients, but all of this without any patient input in the design. So how can you embed patients in your initiatives? If you're doing any QI projects, which I'm sure you are, think about involving patients in the committee. You can start small and you can make the time commitment very small for the patients, and then you can pick and choose who's going to work out well. Because I can guarantee you'll invite patients to participate in some of your initiatives, and they might talk a lot, or they might not offer valuable input. So if you just set the expectation that we'd like you to come to a meeting and thank you very much, and then you can kind of over time figure out who the valuable patients are going to be to provide that input, but start small. So embed them in your QI projects. If you're looking at extended hours or nurse hotlines, get feedback. I've already talked about all of these things in my examples. And then the next theory is to activate patients and caregivers. So I think I've emphasized enough how important it is for me to be on my kids' care team and participate in their decision making. Again, I want you to change your mindset from this is what we do to our patients, for our patients, to this is what we're doing with the patients and caregivers. It's very important for them to feel like they're part of the team. We talked about that collaborative agenda and goal setting. Your goal for your cancer patient might not be their goal at all. I've heard patients say, my goal is to end this chemotherapy so that I can be at my grandson's graduation. Your goal for them might not be their goal, so make sure that you're doing collaborative agenda and goal setting. And then teach back is what we talked about a little bit. When you say things, make sure that the patients can tell you back what they've heard. These are just different ways to activate patients and caregivers. And then lastly, design your practice around the patient. So look at your teams of care. Are patients part of the team? Are you doing bite-sized education that keeps these concepts front and center? Could you show that video that I showed at a staff meeting? Could you once a month bring in a patient to a staff meeting to talk for 5 minutes about their experience or their life? I guarantee you they would love to do that. And then think past traditional one-on-one visits. Drive-by flu clinics, like I said. The doctor who went out to the car. I've sort of had this dream that someday my son could go to his visits at the Y, like in the gym, and walk around to different stations, and he wouldn't even know who's at the doctor. I don't know, these things are crazy and nutty, but I like to think about them anyway. How great would it be for me to take him to the Y? There's balls bouncing around, there's bubble machines, and he doesn't even know he's at the doctor, and we go from station to station, and he sees his providers. I realize that would take a ton of coordination, but these are the things I think about. Let's see. So these are just what matters most to me, and I put them in quote format. So what matters most to me, from my perspective, is being part of the team, where I feel that I'm involved in decision-making, that it's a conversation. The doctor has an opinion, but then listens to my opinion. He respects me as a person who can think through things on my own. He recognizes that I am an expert on my kids, and I'm highly motivated to be. Another thing that matters to me is empathy. The doctor understands. She listens to the sidelights of our lives, and she manages my son's care to the kind of person that he is. Access and convenience. My son is much more compliant if things are quick and easy. A win for us is a win for the provider too. And costs. I'm very concerned about controlling costs, just like you are. Okay, I just have a couple more slides. So I just want to talk about how important person and family engagement is to value-based care, because I started my career at Kaiser Permanente in California. And if you're familiar at all with the Kaiser model, so Kaiser Health Plan brings on groups that they insure, and Kaiser contracts solely with the Permanente Medical Group. And then they own their own hospitals. So it's a completely contained system. And the beauty of that is that when those providers see patients, they don't bill the health plan, because the health plan only contracts with them. So there's no billing that takes place. I mean, obviously they bill outside payers like Medicare and so on, but when a Kaiser doctor is seeing a Kaiser insured patient, there's no billing that occurs. So that removes a lot of what you have to deal with in the fee-for-service world right now. There are no RVUs, there's no incentive to see as many patients as you can. So if you just think about that for a minute, where all you're doing is seeing patients, and you're highly motivated to keep those patients out of the healthcare system, right? Because what's it going to impact if utilization goes up? It's going to impact your financial situation, your bottom line, because you're getting one amount to care for this employer group or this population of people. You're getting one amount every month. You're highly motivated. You're not worried about billing. You're not worried about volumes. You're worried about keeping people healthy. And I loved that mindset. Now, they have all kinds of other issues with access and horrible wait times and all that we have to work through. But I just love the mindset of letting go of the whole billing, volume, RVU environment. And I realize you're still living in a fee-for-service world, so there's that reality. But at Kaiser, the doctors were able to focus on the patient instead of generating visits. They were willing to innovate and change because they had to. If you're getting a set amount to care for a population, your only motivation is to keep that population healthy and to keep them out of using the system, to be honest. And then when they need to use it, then you're there. They were motivated to coordinate care. They were motivated to include behavioral health and social determinants because they knew that if they didn't address those things, people were going to end up back in the system. And they were motivated to activate patients. They knew that provider-led quality improvement can only go so far. And to be honest, our economy can't keep doing the same things over and over again in healthcare and expect to get different results. So we've got to take a different mindset on focusing on the patient and activating patients to manage their own health. Easier said than done. So I'm going to end with some tips from successful companies on customer focus. Amazon just became $1 trillion company. Can you believe that? $1 trillion. We see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little bit better. We need that kind of mindset in healthcare. I don't think it's there yet. And your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning, from Bill Gates. So instead of viewing unhappy customers as a negative thing, view them as a resource and an opportunity. Like I said, our providers, in my experience, are like tremendous people. They are angels. They have improved our lives. It's just a lot of the system things that are very frustrating, and the incentives that we've built into the healthcare system. So I'm just going to close with this quote that the greatest of all mistakes is to do nothing because you think you can only do a little. I've presented a lot of different concepts, a lot of different ideas. No one can do all of that. I'm just asking you to maybe pick one thing. There are tons of resources that are available, and things about shared decision making and teach back and tools and setting up a feedback and how to do a patient focus group. All of that is out there. Pick one thing, try it. If it fails, move on to something else. But I think the greatest mistake would be to do nothing in this area. So again, thank you for your service and for your time and for having me today. And I did wear my Iowa colors. I didn't need to, but I had a yellow sweater and shoes that got my gold and black, but I probably shouldn't end the conversation. I hope the Huskers win today, because I don't really care about who you're playing. Like Troy State or something? Troy State. Okay. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Susan. Our staff had heard Susan talk before and felt that this would be an excellent opportunity for us to think about the ideas that we need to work on in our clinics and offices. On behalf of SERPA-ACO, these are not Nebraska mints, but they are Nebraska-made mints, and we wanted to provide that. We have a drawing for a t-shirt, so Jolene's coming forward and we'll ask Susan to draw so there can't be considered any collusion between any of us. Avis?
You want a t-shirt?
Woo! All right.
Avis wants a t-shirt.
They're ready for food.
Okay, lunch is ready, it's a buffet. It's 11:30 on the dot, we'll be back at 12:30. So our original program said 12:45, but I don't know what you can do. I'm so used to eating in 10 minutes anyway, you know. When I was in grade school, you had 30 minutes to play and eat, and you learned to eat in 10 minutes so that you could play for 20. So we're not going to play that long, but anyway, we'll be back at 12:30.